Hello, everyone. We are back from break, and I am here with Maygan Barker. How are you doing?
No complaints. It's been a nice night.
Thank you. That's what we
Yeah.
strive for here on the show.
You're a delight to watch play. So
Uh, you know, um, normally I suck at video games, but at least I've been playing this one for a while. So
I do find that hard to
Sorry.
buy, but
Hades was
sure.
rough. Hades was rough for everyone who stuck through that. There was a steep learning curve, and don't bring up Elden Ring, but some games I get.
Sure.
um, Megan, we'll get started with this interview.
Mhm.
Before we go any further, you see me, you see Chrissy, co-host
Yes,
this
hi.
week, and or
Sure do.
Daisy. And you think, wow, these are the only people who put together these questions that we ask every week. And that is not the case because we have a whole team of wonderful, diligent, and intrepid folk-wise interview sleuths who help put the questions together each week, help research the folklorists that we have on as the guest. So that is to say, Megan, esteemed members, voting members of the Academy who may be watching, if there's a question you really like that you think, wow, that's pretty funny, or I've never thought of it like that, don't thank me. Thank the sleuths. Chrissy, any anything to add?
Nope, thanks, Luce. I'm
Yeah,
gonna say it preemptively.
yeah, good. There it is. Good thing to add. All right, uh I'd say let's get into it. And I want to get into this first one because it came up a little bit. When you're talking about your interest when we were playing the Baba Yaga game earlier. But Megan, how would you say that your research on gendered vernacular belief is really just a series of love letters to women traumatized, alienated, wounded, and healed in the search for the divine?
Wow. Someone really did a deep dive there on my Twitter, didn't they?
Thank you, sleuths.
Uh Thank you, sleuths. So most of my work, starting even from undergrad, has focused on women and how we interact with faith and how that can be stigmatized and oppressive in patriarchal cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been like the last decade of my life has just been one project after another where I've come in and had one concept or one idea of what was going on here and spoken to women and they've just been like, "No, you don't get it. You don't get it at all." And they've helped me to understand like their experience and like what that means to them. And it's engendered love for me for people and places and folk groups that I don't necessarily love on my own, right? So like I
Mm.
wrote my master's thesis on trauma among returned LDS sister missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't really love Mormon folklore. It's not really my thing. I am, as you might say, a Morm. But our folklore is not something I love. But through talking to these women and through interviewing them and getting to know them, I've gained love for both them and for some of the funky parts of Mormonism. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know. It's not even something I intend to do anymore. It's just I pick up a thing and I look at it. I'm like, "Oh, okay, what am I going to do here?" And then suddenly I'm talking to women once again about their stigmatized religious behaviors and like, yeah. So, it's been really interesting.
And how do you think this is like a well, or I should say, I really like the angle of traumatized, alienated, wounded, and then healed. And how do you think
Yes.
you're a part of people's like healing journey?
Well, I don't I would shy away from saying that I'm part of anyone's healing
Okay,
journey. That
okay.
seems maybe I am and maybe I'm not. That just seems like too big of a thing for me to say. Um, but it's really interesting because so part of the theory behind stigmatized narratives, right, is that
Mm-hmm.
the wound happens when you're traumatized, but then you're re-wounded when you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And so even just in the act of sharing and finding and making language together that describes the experience, because for a lot of trauma, there's just not vocabulary to discuss it very well. Um, and so when you talk to people, it's kind of a process of creating a language together that you can at least discuss it together
Yes.
and move there. And so it's in the process of speaking. and sharing our narratives, we undo one of the wounds of trauma, which is the alienation and isolation of it. Um, Talking, of course, doesn't fix the traumatic event that happened, but it does fix the way that we become isolated afterwards. Um, and that, to me, leads to healing. When I think about what it takes to be alienated and reconciled, it's about connection, and like in being connected to ourselves and in being connected to others, we're healed. Um, and so as I talk with people and as we create language and as we process our experiences together, because I also believe heavily in reciprocal ethnography, as we talk together, we find ways to make wholeness out of broken pieces.
Mm.
Um, and it's really interesting. So previous projects have focused mainly on the way trauma wounds us and like how we talk about it and what that trauma can like teach the folk culture that we belong to.
Mhm.
But I'm getting ready right now to work on my dissertations where I'm looking at sacred harp specifically, which is a religious folk style, I guess.
Mhm.
But with this new project, I really want to look at what it means to be healed and how healing comes after the trauma. Because I think right now there's a tendency to focus on the wound itself, which is important because we haven't been able to speak about it before.
Mhm.
But I also worry about it becoming, trauma porn. And so I'm
Mm.
really curious now to look at the ways in which, in the face of trauma and alienation, what do we do to reclaim our bodies and our space? And what do we do to reclaim community? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's kind of it, I guess.
Incredible answer. No, great
Oh,
great
that's very
answer.
sweet. Thank you.
I don't wanna move on to a next question without asking. Chrissy, do you have anything to add?
No, I what struck me in that is it's so true that what happens with trauma is that we can't when it's like stigmatized narratives, it's so
Mhm.
impossible to move past it without talking about it or without discussing it or finding some outlet for it. And I just think you summed it up. I really liked talking about the language you can create together. I think that's a really
Mhm.
interesting way to approach it because that is the way of creating community, right? Like I found that a fascinating response, and I'm really excited to hear what you do next with your dissertation because I think that's going to be incredible. Look into that. So
Yeah, really excited for this next series of conference papers.
yeah,
My goodness. I hope they turn out well?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it sounds like you got a handle on it. Um, and I think this is all the stuff we've been talking about, especially like the last like question and follow up, actually leads into the next thing I want to bring up, and that is, uh, sometimes we have no choice on this show but to do this. But you filled out our pre-interview survey with an amazing question that I just wanna, I just want to get a little more on. Or you had an amazing answer to our pre-interview survey where you said one of our best definitions, I think, for what folklore means to you, and you said folklore means creating connection and belonging out of alienation and otherness. And and in many ways, you've already answered this, but feel free to just like spin off more. But how have you, as a folklorist, borne witness to connection and belonging being created in these communities and folk groups that you work with?
Yeah. So for this, I think I'm going to turn to my master's thesis as an
Do it.
example. So like I said, I am LDS, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And so the folk group, as I approached these women, I sent out a survey and I was like, "Hey, like, what's up? Is there anyone who wants to talk about this? Have you had an experience? Whatever." But as we came together, the these women I spoke to had nothing but broken pieces of their mission experiences. They couldn't.
Mm.
So many of them, as they talked, still had not been able to make meaning out of their experience and hadn't found like a way to really reintegrate that traumatic experience into their life. And so they found, many of them found that they felt isolated and cut off from their family. They felt distant from themselves, and what have you. And it's been that as we've talked and as we've swapped recipes for funeral potatoes, and as we've come to each other's family funerals, things like that. Because I've stayed in touch with some of my participants,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's been through small acts of sharing folklore together that we've been able to piece together more wholeness out of our experiences, you know? So like
It's really that sounds to me like the reciprocity you're talking about earlier in a very productive
yeah,
way.
I don't know. I'm not perfect at this, but I try hard to create a space where these women can speak and be heard, and if they want to stay in touch and if they want to continue that community of care that we briefly create, that is such a delight.
I think that's a very
Um,
good like internal compass to have. Honestly, I'm not perfect at this, but I want to let them talk. I think you're doing fine. And I do kind of want to get on a tangent here, but you can't just talk about funeral potatoes around two food waste scholars like me and Chrissy without us going deep on funeral potatoes. Now, I think some people
Yeah.
in chat we might have brought them up before on chat,
Mhm.
but I mean, are you able to talk a little bit about funeral potatoes and specifically, like, I don't know if it's a secret, but what's in yours?
oh my gosh, it is not a secret at all.
Okay, okay,
Um, Mine are delicious. They're actually, I mean, the recipe I follow is pretty basic, right? I use frozen hash browns because I'm too lazy to even grate the potatoes, but it's like
okay.
frozen hash browns, cream of mushroom, a can of cream of chicken, a 16-ounce container of sour cream because I like things a little
Tangy.
zangy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the word. And then I also put paprika in mine to give them just a little bit of spice and a little
yeah.
bit of cumin as well, so it's not just like a cream-based flavor.
Ooh.
Um, and then I will die on this hill, but funeral potatoes are to be topped with crushed cornflakes and not Ritz crackers.
Okay, this is what this is what the people tune in for. These hyper specific uh uh variations.
Honestly though, like there's just so many good ways to make funeral potatoes, and I like the only funeral potatoes I've ever met that weren't good were just kind of like watery, but like all funeral potatoes are great. It's cheese and it's potatoes. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think chat, especially chat user a vulgar art, wonder who that could be. Is really having a field day with the paprika of it all.
I see this, Ian. Put some put some effing paprika in your funeral potatoes. Like, do I need to come see you for Easter? Because I make funeral potatoes every Easter.
Okay.
So, like, do I need to come see Ian for Easter and, like, bring lightly spicy funeral potatoes?
Yeah, cumin and paprika, the light spice.
So,
I think of chat. Press one if you believe she should. Press one if we're having a folkwise super group like past guest super group on Thanksgiving. Also, chat wants to know Spanish or Hungarian. Are you typing that? Spanish. Wow, you were like unofficial mod tonight. Fastest fingers in chat. All right. While everyone keeps fighting over paprika and the funeral potatoes, we got some more questions to ask you.
perfect.
um, Megan, you say you've never shut up about AmeriCorps. Can you talk some about your
Oh my
work with
god.
AmeriCorps, specifically involving refugees and children?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, guys, I literally don't ever shut up about this. Like, when someone asks,
Continue.
I immediately am just like, everyone should join AmeriCorps. So just for those who don't know, AmeriCorps is essentially the U.S. Domestic Peace Corps.
Hmm.
You sign up for year-long contracts, and you go in and you do service in communities of need. So the first year that I served in Utah because that was where I was living at the time, and I um, wrote and developed a ESL curriculum for low literacy refugees and immigrants.
Mm,
So specifically I wrote curriculum design for those who couldn't read and write in their own native language, because there's
mm.
some specialty learning difficulties when visual literacy isn't present. Anyway, and so I spent a year designing this curriculum, testing it out on a class. So I would teach several nights a week, and I would use the curriculum that I designed and give it a test run, get feedback before going back to my office to, tweak and edit it before publishing it. So it was a really dope experience. It was really cool. Yeah.
What languages were you working in?
So, because we wanted them to gain English fluency quickly, the class only spoke in English, but
Okay.
my students came largely from East Africa and
Mm,
then portions of the Middle East.
mm.
So, yeah, but
That's.
they were
Oh,
they were
sorry. Go.
super cool. No, 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 it's good. They were super cool people. Like, I'd show up to class and they'd just bring in food that they'd fix and be like, "Hey, Mrs. Barker, here's this cool thing from my home. Like, you taught us an American game, so here's some like Iranian food." And it was just lovely.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really, really nice.
Wow, the reciprocity follows you everywhere, everywhere you work. That's incredible.
Yeah, I
And
guess it does.
I love how much of it has to do with food, which is obviously why I'm a foodways scholar. But like
Hey, same.
one of the biggest gestures of care back and forth is bringing food to someone, and I just love hearing that come out in your stories.
It really is. And food is good. I mean, like, what else are you gonna do? If someone brings you food, like, you're friends now. Like, what, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
blood oath, except it's a food oath.
It's a food oath. Yeah, it's a salivary oath. I think something that's so powerful about food, like we're saying, is that like everyone like needs to do it, but like the second you put any intentionality into it, like it's an amazing present, and you were gonna need to eat something anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, my theory on it is always you're putting labor into it until someone sees that and recognizes that as
Yeah.
they care enough about me to put the work in. So,
Yes. I would agree. And it's like, I don't know. I guess my love language is like acts of service, but things like
mhm,
food and quilts are just a very usable act of service
right.
where, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you've done a nice thing, but also you've done a nice thing that comforts me physically, you know? I don't know. That's just
But
good.
I wanna echo what you said earlier that it's not just the material culture that
Yes.
can be an act of service. Like the talking and sharing and creating that comfortable atmosphere, all of those things count too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. My love language is carbs.
You know, relatable. Love is
Yeah.
stored in the bread.
Oh, love is stored in the bread. What was your dissertation chapter, Chrissy?
Love in the dough.
Love in the dough.
If
I
Where
you
it's
if you really
at.
if you really want to see something that values the carbs, I just watched The Big Brunch on HBO, and it's all carbs. Not all carbs are all the time, but Dan Levy loves carbs, and he's a judge.
Oh,
So
I'm interested. Let's go.
yeah, it's
Amazing.
good.
I had Peruvian food over the weekend, and I had rice and fries.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yum.
in like a brown gravy with like shrimp and like vegetables. But
This
I was
sounds
So
just
delicious.
common,
but I was just sitting here like it's two carbs. It's so cool.
but it's totally like a South American thing, having lived there for a little while.
Oh,
The
totally, totally, totally.
potatoes and rice, so normal.
Oh. Speaking of potatoes, just looks like I just want to say, Megan, incredible job just managing chat. Oh, like there's a certain kind of poster can do that while getting interviewed. You honestly, you and Shelley Jones are neck and neck on the ability to manage chat. But
Okay, if we're being honest, when I was taking a digital class from Lynn McNeil,
mhm.
I would just troll her in the chat constantly while we were talking.
Troll
So
Shelley or
any
troll Lynn?
ability, troll Lynn.
Oh hell yeah!
So like any capability I have here is simply because I believe in harassing Lynn McNeil always.
Great. Lynn showed up a couple weeks ago to just harass me in chat and then leave. So I'm
Beautiful.
glad she was getting me back in the future. But also, it looks like there is going to be, speaking of potatoes, some sort of filmed potato casserole cook-off uh, this spring. So we'll keep you posted around Easter time.
Perfect.
We got one last like serious question. I mean, serious question. One more question about like your research. Now we can get into some fun stuff. You ready for this?
Mhm.
Okay, so in what ways are women on TikTok using tarot to reclaim autonomy and spiritual authority post religion?
Boy, howdy.
Go, go, go.
TikTok is really popping off, y'all.
Totally is.
Um, so one of the things that I've noticed is that like you can like code tag things on TikTok, right? And so
Hmm.
like if you pull up like tarot videos, they'll frequently be tagged like tarot and pagan or witch.
Hmm.
But they're also tagged with ex-Christian and ex-evangelical. Um
Hmm.
And so as I watch these videos, I see women using tarot in similar ways to which like a Mormon might use a bishop, in which like, oh, I have a question or a concern and I need advice. Who do I go to? And so like in some branches of Christianity, when they were active in their faith, they would have gone to a priest, a bishop, whatever.
Hmm.
But they use tarot for similar means, but the difference being that the authority and the power to translate and to receive that revelation is in the woman's hand versus being given to an outside male figure. Um, so it's super, super interesting. And then also when you look at tarot, so tarot, at least the Raider Waite deck, like the old standard,
Yep.
is illustrated using like three main things. One being Christian mysticism, Hebrew mysticism, and the Kabbalah, and then the imagery of like Freemasonry and
Hmm.
associated esoterica.
Hmm.
And so like even the use of the cards themselves harks back to um not harks back, how do I want to phrase this? That even the use of tarot still plays into that Christian background because of the need to know and understand Christian symbolism in order to interpret.
Yeah.
And so that's super, 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 super interesting that that's happening. But also there are women who are like doing tarot and like divination and like like other forms of future telling. And before they start their readings, before they start their full video, whatever, there's at least 1, 2 women that I follow who are like, "Archangel Michael, deliver back to sender any bad vibes, good things from God only." And like she
Huh.
literally invokes Christian um angels as protection to ward out false communication, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's some hybridity happening, right? Where we're taking um witchy practices, I guess, um, and like melding them together with Christianity, but it's also not that unusual because like when you look at like Eastern Orthodoxy in small towns in like the Ukraine and stuff, there's much more presence of witchery in combination with Christianity, and it's not quite as controversial there as it is stateside where evangelical fundamentalism has had a chokehold on what it means to be
Mm.
a Christian. And so like yeah, it's just been super, super interesting because, like, as I've talked with these women, I've found they've told me similar things to what the former LDS missionaries have said, which is that the trauma of their religious upbringing, whether that's in Mormonism or whether that's abuse at the hands of like the Southern Baptist Convention, whatever, that these events leave women feeling more connected to Jesus Christ and wanting to keep the idea of a Messiah figure. And even some people want to keep the idea of like the Trinity, but they just can't keep the institutional church anymore. And so they're turning to more embodied ways of approaching belief, which is also super makes sense because like a lot of Christianity, a lot of American Christianity is super disembodied. It's a
Yes.
practice of like believing the right ideas versus doing the right thing. Whereas things like tarot and other I don't want to call it like new age or esotericism, but like other similar magical belief practices are much more embodied. And so it takes belief out of the mind and into the body and into the life. And there seems to be healing and joy that comes with that for a lot of women.
That's a very good point, and I think a very easy way to understand like two things that should be opposites, but yeah, because like honestly, as someone who was raised Catholic, like Saint Michael and tarot. If my dad heard this, he'd have a heart attack. But I
Right?
guess I guess like I completely followed it just from the reclaiming autonomy, and specifically like in an embodied way. I think that is fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, these tarot and these they call themselves Christian witches on TikTok are
Hmm.
literally saying like, yes, all of this theology is correct, but you're practicing it wrong. And like, I don't need you as a middleman, and I don't need you as any sort of buffer between me and the divine. If anything, I want less of a buffer, right? Because like, so many of these practitioners are looking for the mystic experience of unification with the universe,
Mm-hmm.
basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like you can't outsource that to someone else. You can't outsource connecting to God or like transcending your body and having like this like spiritual out of body moment. You can't just hand that off to someone else to do for you. It's something that has to be done by your body and in your body. So,
I know,
I
I
don't
know,
know.
I literally understand the point you were making, but when you said you can't outsource that, I'm just like, that's what the saints are for. Oh, hold on. There's a point. There's a point.
Right. Also, I'm not Catholic, so like I
I
didn't grow up with
know, I know.
saints.
I'm barely Catholic anymore. I just like the jewelry and the church festivals, but
Valid though.
yeah, and I got
That's
to, I say that, but I did get to like baptize my nephew. One of the best days of my life. But mainly, I'm here for like the lighting the candles and the holy water. It's all the accoutrements.
there's really something to be said for ritual, just
That
for the
is
sake of
true.
ritual.
Yes. I'm gonna Daisy in chat. I'm pushing back against that. I mean, am whatever. There's a thing about more Catholic than you or a passing Protestant. A cultural Catholic. The snacks and jewelry are rad. Exactly. There's the thing they care about is like where you are on a Sunday. But yeah, I guess I'm happy that Daisy thinks I'm going to heaven for the gold chains. Like it was wow, it was that fun and easy. That is to say, chat has been popping off and really I think loved that answer and thought it was fascinating, and also loved how you just had the tarot cards on hand just as your prop.
I mean, so I have my computer propped up on my nightstand, which
Mm-hmm.
has displaced my tarot cards. So they're just kind of here.
Oh,
Tell
yes.
us tell us about your decks. I want to know about your decks. What do you
Oh,
have
for
there?
sure, for sure. So I have just like a travel sized Raider weight, and this is what I learned on.
Uh huh.
Hmm.
Also to be clear, I don't read tarot very well. So like when I say this, like take it with the biggest grain of salt, because like I'm trying, but I'm certainly no Jeannie Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is just like your standard Raider weight, and then I have this cute little affirmators tarot deck where
Oh.
it's both a tarot deck as well as an affirmation deck. And so the
Nice.
Cool.
cards themselves work as tarot, but then there's like a little affirmation booklet that goes with it. And it's just kind of a fun little folksy illustration style. It's just kind of cutesy,
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
very playful.
That's awesome.
And then I was recently given a cat tarot deck,
Oh nice.
right? So the thing is, I didn't buy any of these, nor did I set out to have any of these. I told someone once that I was maybe thinking about learning tarot, and then for the last year, tarot decks have just like shown up in my life. Like literally people that I don't know show up at my doorstep and are like, "Hey, I was in the neighborhood and I had this deck in my car and I felt
Oh.
like I should stop at this house. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." So, yeah.
Hey, lots
So
of things going off in chat. Oh, sorry. You can go first, Chrissy.
I was gonna say, Death Lorist is asking, did Megan ever get the Grateful Dead deck she talked about wanting on Twitter?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
It is an expensive set, so not yet.
Also, have
But
you ever met Anna Morell?
no.
Who went to Penn State Harrisburg? Because Chad is agreeing that the two of you need to either hang out or write a paper together or something.
Okay. I'm down. Is she on Twitter?
She's on
I
Instagram a lot.
Yeah, she's on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, she's what JPEG Praxis. Is that her? Is that her? Oh no, that's. Not, I hope that's not her Finsta. Um, we'll get
I
with
legit
Anna.
don't
We'll get with
remember.
Anna.
I'll go find her.
Also, speaking of cat tarot, yeah, what card is that on the bed? And everyone is commenting that there's a cat, but just a tail.
Oh, yeah. Um,
Oh,
excuse my room, it's a wreck, but that's my cat. That's Sophie. She's the
Sophie,
best girl. Yep.
she looks incredible.
She is so good. She's so fat and so furry, just like the best cat.
Yeah, chat is saying Anna's a little busy right now. But we will hook you up. Yeah, she's believe. But yes, and people are saying bring Sophie closer to the camera.
Okay, just a sec.
It's a cat. You can't just say like, "Come here." You know, it's not a puppy.
No.
Oh, delighted.
Oh my god,
Hello, baby.
Isn't she
baby!
Cat.
cute?
This is she's adorable. Oh my god, you're
Oh,
pretty.
She is
baby.
literally the best cat I've ever known. So, she's a cutie.
Oh, thank you for the bits. I mean, it is that easy to make money on Twitch. Just have someone hold their animal up to a camera. But thanks for the
Yeah.
bits, chat. Oh, there we go again. Thank you so much for the bits, everybody. Nice. All right, you want to get to some of your more fun questions?
Yes, let's hear them.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Why should folks read John Steinbeck to understand labor movements?
Oh my god, why shouldn't they? No, literally, like the American labor movement wouldn't exist without Steinbeck. Um,
Go off.
so oh, I will. I promise I will. So something you should know about me is until I started my folklore masters, my intention was to be a Steinbeck scholar. Like I wanted to do a
Interesting.
PhD and write about Steinbeck. Um so Grapes of Wrath is published in like what, 1938, 1940. It's like it's a shitty novel. I wouldn't don't suggest reading it.
Wow.
Um I know, hot take. But previous to it being written, the idea of a labor movement was largely considered like the realm of communists, and it
hmm
was super looked down on by like American pop culture as well as the government. But Steinbeck's book Grapes of Wrath created such public sympathy and connection that that the labor movement of the 1940s was off to a better start and had better footing to have the successes that it did. You know, so we through that labor movement we start getting things like uh, shorter work days, protections in factories, things like that. And so it's really like the combination of like John Steinbeck, uh, not John Uptown. What is his name? Sinclair,
Upton
Louis
Sinclair.
Sinclair. Yep, there we go. There we go. With their industrial themed and labor movement themed books that start uh, making this more acceptable, more palatable in the American psyche. And previous to Grapes of Wrath, one of the first novels Steinbeck published is called The Moon is Down. Yes. Um, and it's quite literally the story of someone who is learning how to organize a labor movement and then dies.
Oh wow.
Um, and so it's really quite interesting because it shows the inner machinations of like a budding union group, right? And Steinbeck, of course, himself was involved in union work previous to becoming a writer. So he grew up in my part of California and spent a lot of time actually in my hometown working in a sugar factory. And he was a union man there. And so it's there through and through. Steinbeck's writing champions the poor, the downtrodden, those in American culture that we would like to brush off for pretend aren't there. Whether that's people moving from Oklahoma to California or migrant farm workers,
hmm
right? It's just a very sympathetic approach to American poverty. So yeah, I and it's interesting. So like Steinbeck, of course, was contemporaries with Woody Guthrie, and Woody Guthrie wrote the Dust Bowl ballads, right? And at least three of the songs on that album are based directly out of Grapes of Wrath.
hmm
And it made Steinbeck so angry that he literally wrote a letter to Woody and was just like, "You're a little son of a bitch. I can't believe you wrote this in like 2 months where it took me like 3 years to write this novel. Like, how dare you?" And I just, yeah,
Powerful
Woody
energy.
and right, like Woody and John together really did some cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
Um, I guess the only other thing I have to add, because he's one of the first folklorists I ever met, but Tom Barton, who went to Penn, who's a folklore
mhm.
degree from Penn, who was like the dean of of the Honors College at the University of Toledo for many years, my
Mhm.
hometown. Also, he wrote a book about Steinbeck's dispatches from Vietnam. So that's the other folklorist I
Yeah.
associate with Steinbeck. The two of you.
Wait, I didn't know he was a
Yeah,
folklorist.
he has a folklore degree from Penn. I think he was like an English professor his whole career, but he always
What
like
the
worked in
hell?
like he always worked in little like folklore stuff to his lectures.
That is delightful. I'm pretty sure I've met Tom. So the
Yeah.
first yeah, I went to a Steinbeck conference years ago,
Oh, and
presented.
Tom would have totally been there.
Yeah, and I remember, there was a guy who came to my panel named Tom, and I remember
Hmm.
learning afterwards that he was, like, a big deal,
I
so
and now you're
would not be
learning
surprised.
he has a degree from Penn folklore.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
surprise!
It was folklore. Yeah. It's
It's
always
folklore all
been
the way
folklore.
down.
Always has been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, hey, next one. You
Mhm.
spent a lot of time on Discord for research purposes, but what's your favorite emote you got from a server you joined for research reasons?
I don't have one.
You don't
Uh,
have a favorite?
I don't. Have not ever paid too much attention to, like, specialty emotes,
Okay.
so
Well, what's like your go-to like react emoji?
yeah, guys, I'm super basic, so sorry. My go-to React emojis are definitely, like, the, like, laughing cry face and, like, a heart for, like, reassurance.
Okay.
So,
The old standards.
yeah, they're standards for a reason, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Like the like funeral potatoes. Oh my god, are we talking Fundy Fridays in chat?
I think we are.
I just got into Fundy Fridays through the James videos. Like since he's been doing
Oh,
those. Yes, James was my way in.
nice.
Yeah. My king.
Yes. Yes. I know Fundy Fridays for me popped up when I started realizing that there was a connection between fundamentalist Christianity and, like, paganism and, like, other nature religions, and I was like,
Mm.
"What? What's this pipeline?" So, definitely, like, binged a bunch of the Fundy Friday videos.
I recommend Fundy Friday. Check them out. They're great. They're
Super
hysterical,
great.
and I feel like I have so many brainworms. Like it changed the way I say allegedly.
Amazing.
Hey, we've got a little mini game to play. So, we have on the show before played Explain That Tweet, where we do deep dives into some controversial takes that people have on Twitter. Um, but for you, I think I want to do. Can you break down a tweet for us in a little detail?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so you had like it was like a whole like city challenge of like all of your favorite and least favorite cities in the world, and I just want you to go into a little more detail. So, city you dislike, NYC. Why?
New York fucking sucks, guys. Like, forgive me, but fuck New York. So I have only been to NYC twice, and it's been by accident both times. Uh, and it's
You
so damn
you
crowded.
gotta explain the by accident.
By accident. It's a pretty
Yeah,
intentional city.
it's really not. So I moved from California to Boston
Hmm.
in 2018, 2019, and I just took Google Maps and I was just driving up the coast and I pull into a town and I look over and I go, "Huh, is that the Empire State Building?"
Yeah. Were you in like Hoboken, New Jersey or something?
I don't I still don't know where I
Okay,
was.
okay.
I was, like, on the fringes of the town, and I was like, "Huh, I didn't think I would end up here because, like, I had routed it so it'd avoid all toll roads, it was supposed to take, like, back roads, like, there was no reason I should have been in NYC."
Hmm.
So that was the first time, and then the second time, I ended up in Hoboken buying pizza
Oh,
and didn't
well,
realize that
fair.
Hoboken was basically NYC. So,
Sure. Um,
yeah, but yeah, so it's just kinda crowded and, like, it's not my vibe.
Next thing you said city, I think is overrated, LA.
Yep, also sucks.
Also for similar reasons.
Um, yeah, so for me, LA and NYC both fall prey to like some of the same pitfalls of like representing everything wrong with capitalism and consumerism and like American culture in general
Boom.
in just two very different ways, right? So like my
Damn.
brother my brother lived in LA for several years. I'm from California. And every time I go down to LA, it's just everything is very performative. It's super shallow. It's poorly taken care of. It's just nah, pass.
City, you said city you like St. John's.
Yeah, St.
Great.
John's is cute.
The Rock.
Yeah. Welcome to the Rock.
Welcome to the Rock.
I mean, guys, I literally showed up here, met someone, and was like, "Oh, I don't have any furniture," and they showed up 2 days later with the truck full of free furniture to furnish my apartment with. Like, what is this town? You know?
That's awesome.
So yeah,
That's
St.
like a
John's is
low
great.
stakes come from away. And then
Yeah.
city you love, San Francisco pre 2005, which I thought was
Yes.
fascinating.
Yes. I mean, previous to it becoming Silicon Valley and like tech coming into the Bay Area, San Francisco was magic growing up. You know, like when I was a kid, my dream was to go to the art institution school in San Fran for college, and
Hmm.
like I went as often as possible to the art museums. I just hop on the BART and take a little train ride in, and just yeah, San Francisco was the city of my heart growing up.
Aw.
But it's very different now, and
Sure.
yeah, it's just different now.
Um, you got some more hot takes that were in this post. City you feel city you feel most yourself in. Is it, how do I pronounce it? Is it Salinas or Salinas?
Salinas.
Salinas. Where
Mhm.
where is that's is that in California?
It is, yeah.
Where's that? North as well?
um it's like central. So like you've got
Mm,
so Salinas is more or less on the coast. So you've got like San Francisco and San Jose here. And if you drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours south, you hit Salinas.
got it.
Yep. So it's like by Monterey, that kind of area.
Oh, the Hotel California. That's what Chad is saying.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then
So
your dream city is Sonora?
yeah.
Go off. No, go. I thought when I read that, I thought it meant like the state south of Arizona in Mexico.
No,
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 go tell me
no.
about Sonora.
Uh, so growing up, I spent most of my summers in Sonora,
Mhm.
just like hiking and camping around in the Sierra Nevadas in the area, and
Nice.
it's still just a place I love. I went back year before last, and like just really good food, really good dive bars, beautiful scenery. It's small, so it's like not crazy. It's just yeah, Sonora is where I'd like to be, but like that's probably not going to happen because it's small and expensive, you know.
You're selling me on it. Sounds great. Last two, as someone who used to live out this way, I've spent plenty of time in here, so I want to hear your take on these. City you still need to visit, Annapolis. I don't often hear people saying I need to visit Annapolis, though I like Annapolis. I've been there. What? Why Annapolis?
Uh, because Because I've spent a lot of time in DC, and whenever I'd go down to DC, I'd stay in Baltimore,
Hmm.
and Annapolis is just, like, right there, and I feel like I've never been to the capital of Maryland, and that's kinda goofy,
It's a nice rotunda.
that's what I've heard. I've also heard that it's not really a town you really want to go visit, but I don't know. It just seems goofy to me to not have been there.
Uh, Carrie in chat, you're gonna have to explain what "steal the goat" means of why of like the
Yeah.
tourist destination of Annapolis. I've totally Chris, you've been there for 4th of July?
Yeah, I
But
went
it's,
and saw some fireworks with my roommates. I don't know when that was,
I mean,
2010, 12,
they love
11,
the War of
something.
1812 out there. Um,
Yeah.
and then favorite city of all time is DC.
Yeah. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Why's that?
Because like so it's a really easy town to be a tourist in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the things that you want to see are free or super cheap. It's pretty walkable, especially in the downtown and in the mall area. Lodging around isn't too expensive. It's pretty affordable. Like it's just and it's also very there's just a lot of good food. Like
Yes.
Founding Farmers is a great restaurant. You know, just yeah. It's I just love DC. And like in the spring, the cherry blossoms, like
Mm-hmm.
holy cow, so pretty.
I think my favorite part about DC, the touristy parts of DC, I first thought of, because I am a nerd, when I watched like the Steven Spielberg DVD commentary for Minority Report, and they said they set it in DC because you can set sci-fi in DC and still have the same skyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just put a future skyscraper over like south or whatever, and then just the mall is gonna look like the mall in the future.
Amazing. I'm here for this.
Yeah. Bill the Goat, mascot of the Naval Academy, is what chat was saying.
Oh.
Yeah. In
I mean, I would love to commit some light treason and steal something from the military.
And we got one more question for you before we move on to your game for the night. How has your relationship with the Grateful Dead's music changed from your first time listening to now being a folklorist?
Buddy. So I started listening to the Grateful Dead because a professor that I worked for and I'm really close friends with hated it, and our love language was annoying each other.
Oh,
And so
are
I'd
you
start
Italian siblings?
You would think so. But no, so I started listening to him to annoy Scott, and then I met a deadhead and a member of the Rainbow family, and just kind of turned into like a someone who like genuinely enjoyed it. And then I started going to shows, and at the time I was stone cold sober, like there were no substances because I'm a
Mhm.
good little Mormon girl.
Mhm.
And so I just go to Grateful Dead concerts and watch everyone around me get absolutely blitzed. Um and I would just like to say that I can now pass the acid test, so that's how that's changed for me.
So we've got a game to play with you at the end of the stream. You're seeing this in chat. We've got people talking to you about the Rainbow family.
Mhm.
But I'm about to hit share screen. Look at that, Megan, when you got a chance. But I guess the first question is, have you ever made a tier list before?
Ooh, no.
All right, so tier lists, they come from fighting games. It's a way to rank player choice in video games, normally with fighting game characters, but specifically on Twitch in a way that folklorists love. They get used to rank regular stuff in everyday life. And we thought of a great tier list for you to rank as a folklorist, and we want to get into it. We also have this... we also have the albums pulled up a little bigger in an Imgur link. I'm going to move over to this on our end here, but we have a tier list for you, and it is the most iconic Grateful Dead album art. Do you think you...
Let's go.
All right, let's go. And I'll pull it up here. You can see this too, right? Like closer up on
Yes.
the images. So first one, we've got American Beauty. I think we did this we picked iconic ones and then did it alphabetically. So the first one is
Beautiful.
American Beauty, the classic Rose album cover. And American Beauty here, these go on a scale from S to D, S being a grade higher than 100 and D being barely passing. So on a scale from S to D, where do you put the album art for American Beauty?
Ooh, I'm gonna put American Beauty right out of B.
Right, middle of B. We're anchor the tier list here.
It's good, but it's not great.
Great. Next up, we got Anthem of the Sun.
That is straight up an S tier level cover.
Anthem of the
Like,
Sun's going right to S. Okay, we love
like
to see opinions on these.
right? Like I don't know, when you think about like psychedelic music, this is the kind of visual that comes to
That's
mind
the
for me.
aesthetic. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So just very iconic.
Beautiful. You're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation. I've never actually asked to how you pronounce this album.
Your guess here is genuinely as good as mine. So
Okay. I've always read this like in like Rolling Stone top 500 albums of all time and just assumed it's like Aoxomo Oxoa. But the one with like the trees and the skull.
yeah. I'm gonna put that at like a I don't know. This is one of my least favorite covers, so I'm gonna put that down at like a D.
Okay. It's I see that. And I like you've got a good distribution.
Yeah.
Chat loves a normal distribution. I will say that. And next one, another classic, another skull. We've got Blues for Allah.
Yes,
Where do you
Blues
put
for
the Blues
Allah
for
is such
Allah?
a good album. That is also S tier.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, like
So is that
it's a skeleton playing a fiddle. Like it's excellent.
so is that S tier higher than Anthem of the Sun or below Anthem of the Sun?
For me personally, higher.
Higher. Okay, cool. We have a new
Yeah.
number one. Number one. How about the eponymous first album?
We're gonna give that like a solid B.
Solid B. Okay. And does that go under American Beauty?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great.
Actually, let's go ahead and move that down to a C. Can we do that?
Yeah. Oh, you can move anything later.
Perfect.
The next one we got is Live Dead. First live
Oof.
album, right?
I think so. This is a beautiful cover.
It's
I love
incredible.
the like throwback to like illuminated lettering, so we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
give this an S.
S. Is this top of S or what?
It's like it's in the middle. Yeah.
It's in the middle. Good, good, good. Cool. Now we're getting real iconic. We got Skull and Roses.
This is literally my film picks. Like
Nailed it.
obviously,
Sleuths, you nailed
obviously that's
it.
an S. So
Is that the top of S?
yeah, that's the top of
Hell
S.
yeah, hell yeah. Next up, Steal Your Face. Another
Meh.
classic.
I hate Steal Your Face if we're being honest. Steal
You
Your
hate
Face
the
goes in
album
the
art or the album?
yeah. No, I hate the album art.
Damn. Is that hate like bottom of D?
Yeah. It's so far, I would say yes.
Damn. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Speaking of Maryland, we got Terrapin Station.
Yes, this is so cute. Like, look at this like little
It's
folksy style that's
adorable.
going on.
Look at
Like they're playing a
Franklin's
banjo.
aunt and uncle. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, this is A.
That's
This is
A.
definitely A level.
Solid A. I like it.
Yeah, I just gotta say I have never seen any of these albums, never listened to Grateful Dead, but this is my favorite by far.
It's so delightful.
Very good. Um, and then what's up next? What's up next? We've got Wake the Flood. I
Ooh.
love this one.
Oh, this is also really good. This is a B for me.
That's a B.
Mhm.
It's that top of B, bottom of B.
Bottom of B.
Bottom of B, bottom of B. And then honestly, I don't want to influence you, but the Sleuth's favorite album cover, Working Man's Dead.
Okay, I might be a little biased here because this is my favorite album, but I think that the
Ooh.
album cover definitely deserves a B.
Okay, so the album covers, that's your favorite. The tunes are your favorite, but the album cover, it's a
Mhm.
B. Is it a B?
Yeah, it's smack in the middle.
Smack in the middle between American
Uh-huh.
Beauty
Yes.
and Wake the Flood. All right,
And can we move American Beauty up to A?
we can do it. Bottom A.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else need to move? Are
No,
we
I think
good?
that's good.
Chat loves Working Men too.
It's so good.
That's we're
I
well
mean,
on our
just
way to
like
the rare and vaunted inverted normal distribution. We've got okay. It's kind of like there's a shape here. There's definitely a shape here.
I always
amazing.
like it when we err on the side of S because it means it's a very positive tier
It
list.
means we
But
found
I
things
think
you're
that's
happy about.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is a theme of me this episode. It's like everything is happy and positive and delightful. So
Hell
let's all
yeah!
be good.
All right,
It's
Chrissy, should I try to
great.
sum it up?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
What's
everyone,
the
voting members of the Academy. There we have the official most iconic Grateful Dead album art tier list on a scale from S to D. How whimsical is your skeleton? There, we summed it up.
That's perfect.
Amazing.
And with that, I think we can move confidently to the end of your interview. If people want to find you, continue the conversation, etc., Megan, where should they reach out?
Yeah, find me on Twitter. My username is just Cries and Folk.
Rise and Folk. Good
So
branding.
always happy to slide into someone's DMs and chat.
Hell yeah. And all right, she did it. She crushed it. Had some great conversation. Talk and chat. I would like you to keep the theme alive and be reciprocal. And you know what to do. Drop ladders, ladders in the chat. If you don't have ladders, maybe a hearty GG, a good game, maybe emoji for applause. But yeah, drop ladders for a successful interview and a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Okay, I said drop ladders. It looks like Ian is dropping pears. Well,
There's been an entire discussion about pears in the chat,
I
how everyone wants a pear.
I kept
So
seeing it, and I kept thinking I'm missing a lot by being the person who has to be talking.
You know, pears are a ladder if you look at it in a certain kind of way.
I guess. All
That
right.
certain kind of way being high, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ladders or pears in chat,
Oh, bless.
depending on your sobriety. Pears in chat. Yeah, Megan gets it. The chat says.
Quilts have had meaning on many levels. Making quilts helped me to get a sense of my own space, sense of finding my way, sense of really working my way out of the labyrinth.